talking about variable entry and docking points in transforaminal endoscopic spine surgery. We all know that in 1973 it was Pervez Camben who gave the safe working zone on the posterolateral surface of the spine and bounded by the exiting root anteriorly, inferiorly by the proximal end plate of the inferior lumbar segment, medially by the traversing root and the dural sac, and posteriorly by the articular process. But it was later imagined that the superior articular process, which is the most important part of this access point, was not considered in these boundaries. So it was the Barrow group who added this SAP and converted the triangle into a prism. So we have different points of access into this prism: type 1 axis, type 2 axis, and type 3 axis. Type 1 axis is the typical axis which actually Camben has described, and this is anterior to the SAP without removing any bone. So type 1 is again divided into type 1A, which is parallel to the disc space anterior to the SAP. Type 1B axis is a caudal trajectory, which is again anterior to the SAP and into the disc space. So these are the two axes which we use for typical transforaminal endoscopy and also for epidural steroid injections. And type 1C is the axis which is similar to type 1B, but it is landing on the base of the SAP, the typical axis which we use for foraminotomy and foraminoplasty. The type 2 axis is a limited expansion of the transforaminal corridor where we remove a part of the IAP and the SAP, the typical axis that we use for doing an endoTLIF procedures. And the type 3 axis is expanded expansion with entire removal of the facet joint, which we typically use for MISSABCON procedure. So the basic principles that we follow in transforaminal endoscopy is first the axis, which is mainly done image guided, which is partially blind, and second thing is the decompression or the targeted fragmentectomy, and this is done under endoscopic vision. This depends upon the marking, depends upon the level of the disc prolapse, the type of the disc herniation, whether it is central, paracentral, subarticular, foraminal or extraforaminal, the migration, whether it is cranial or superior or inferior, level of the iliac crest, the lumbar lordosis, and the build of the patient. So we use the working instrument, the docking instruments, which include the needle, guide wire, dilator, sleeve, cannula, and of course the mallet and the hammer. And we have the instruments for decompression, which includes the graspers, the annular cutters, hooks, burrs, curettes, and RF probes. The skin marking is typically done with C-arm, but sometimes we can use MRI and CT-based markings if the patients are obese and if there is thoracic disc. So these are the requirements for good access, the typical OR setup, the frame that I use in my OR, and we need a good radiolucent table, C-arm, technician, and the spine frame. And so this is the typical OR setup. So we mark the AP line as has been described by the previous speaker, the AP and the lateral lines in a squared spine, and we mark the vertical midline, the horizontal disc line, and the lateral inclination line. Many of the times these lines may meet with each other, especially in cases of L34 or L23 discs, but in the case of the sometimes they may intersect, sometimes they may not intersect. So in the Indian population at L45 and L5S1, we typically start with 12 to 15 centimeter from the midline, and at higher level disc at L34, L23, L12, we go closer to the midline, 10 to 12, 9 to 10, and 8 to 9 centimeters. So the annular puncture points and the skin puncture points. The annular puncture point radiographically at L4, L5 is the medial pedicle line, and as we go higher level L2, 3, 3, 4, we go from the middle pedicle line to the medial pedicle line. So this is the typical needle, the spinal needle with the luer lock on one side and the bevel on the other, and this is how we enter the needle. At 9 centimeter we are at the lateral edge of the facet and into the facet joint, and in the around 9.5 centimeter we are at the mid pedicle line and we are into the foramen, and at 10 centimeter we are at the medial pedicular line and we are just in the posterior annulus at the point where we infiltrate and give local anesthesia. And here at 12 centimeter it is almost near the midline, whereas in the lateral view it is in the posterior 1/3 of the annulus. This is the typical entry point for a paracentral disc herniation where the position of the needle can be seen. This is the guide wire over which the dilator goes in. We have the central single hole dilator, or we have an eccentric hole in addition to change the guide wire if required. And this is the cannula with the bevel and the tank on one side and the hilt on the other side. We have different types of tanks, either 20 degree or 45 degree or extended long sleeve. The 20 degree is the one which is semicircular and specially used for foraminoplasty work and outside in technique. The 45 degree tank is used for inside disc and annular work, and extended long sleeve and tank is used for disc, annulus and the epidural work. And then we put in the scope and visualize with the V of the camera at the 6 o'clock position, and this is the final position of the dilator and the cannula. Of course we use the tapper and the hammer. So the migrated disc herniation can be up or down migrated, as has been classified by Lee, as has been described by the previous speakers, which has been divided into zone 1, 2, 3 and 4, which can be far upward migrated, near upward migrated, near downward migrated and far downward migrated. So for migrated disc herniation, the plan is either we can go for an inside out technique in which we can plan the entry point based on the tip of the fragment. The fragment is assessed with an MRI, and we can go with an angulation of 20 to 30 degree and land at the base of the fragment, from where we do an annulotomy or annular cutting technique and reach the main fragment and take it out with a hook to our vision. And that plan B is go with a standard entry point and use a hook or a flexible grasper to tease the fragment into our vision and slowly excise it. So the fragment, if it is completely sequestered, we use an epidural space prober and mobilize the fragment into our vision. Sometimes we can use an outside in technique in which we prefer the round cannula, and if it is a superior migration, we clear the soft tissues around the tip of the SFE, the ligaments, transforaminal ligaments, the flavum. This will help in epidural positioning of the cannula and visualize the migrated fragment so that we can tease it out from the axilla of the exiting nerve root. If it is an inferior migration, then we have to do either a bony foraminotomy or a foraminoplasty, or we can go for we might need to do an oblique pediculectomy if it is a far downward migration by drilling the medial wall of the pedicle as well. The only absolute indication of converting an interlaminar surgery into an interlaminar surgery is a highly dorsally migrated disc fragments. So the endpoints of the surgery are, we have to match the eyeballing of the fragment with the MRI pictures, look for the blood-stained tip of the fragment, full decompression of the dura and the nerve. The patient should be having pain relief during the procedure, especially on extension of the spine, and post-op MRI is done if required. Now this is about foraminal and extraforaminal disc herniation and how we should change our entry points based upon this thing. If it is foraminal or extraforaminal. Now in both this situation, the most important nerve which is at fault or at compression is the exiting nerve root. The problem is it is very difficult to visualize the exiting nerve root from the MRI and very difficult to make an idea where it is exactly there. So always the safer access is actually in the inferior half of the foramen, and if you see the annular puncture point, if in the foraminal herniation, it should be in the middle pedicular line in the AP, and in the extraforaminal herniation it should be in the lateral pedicular line in the AP, whereas in the lateral view we should be in the lower part of the foramen and we should not cross the posterior vertebral line. If you see the skin puncture point, then we should be much closer to the midline, as just like the higher level disc L2-3 and L1-L2, and we should have a steeper angle of entry of around 45 to 50 degrees. So another alternative method is an outside in technique where we land at the junction of the facet and the lateral pedicle line, we dock the needle at the lateral pedicle line in AP at the junction of the pedicle and the body. From there we walk along the lateral edge of the facet, drill it and land in the extraforaminal region. We prefer the round cannula. We should not hammer the blunt obturator because this will ultimately damage the already compressed exiting nerve root, and achieve hemostasis by pressing the cannula towards the disc and remove the fragments piecemeal one after the other. These are the typical extraforaminal herniation. Thank you.